We also have the prospect of by 2015 that the majority of people in the Red Army of Russia will be majority Muslim, while Russia's population collapses. Now, this is part two of Tory Fox's versus British Army alliance. Now, because of the inherent instability in the world, and ironically, one of the most unstable and bitterly fought wars that is going on today is almost completely ignored by the BBC, and that is David Cameron visiting South Africa, where the South African government under the ANC, Jacob Zuma and Julius Malema, are in the process of exterminating the white population of South Africa. They've been doing this since Nelson Mandela came to power. Over 1 million people have been killed, and many millions have had to leave to other countries, as my South African uh, subscribers will tell you. Um, Yet we are perhaps doing defence deals with them, whilst our own British Army is becoming smaller and smaller. Do we have the ability, without the carriers, which are being built only to be scrapped, which is completely insane, a completely insane policy, or sold abroad to rising military powers such as India or Brazil or China, then maybe even China itself, which kills 1 million of its own people every year. We are living amongst a very dangerous group of nations in the world, albeit not Brazil, but the BRIC countries are inherently unstable, albeit without Brazil in that regard. The British Army needs to step up, and if the Europeans can't coalesce into a European armed forces, which, although I think it is a slim possibility that they won't be able to do it, it's still a possibility. Britain will have to step up, as the United States is considering nearly $2 trillion worth of defence cuts over the same period that we are talking about. Now, Liam Fox has said that the contribution of the reserve forces is their ability to move civilian technology, because the military no longer has the dominance in technology anymore in many politicians' eyes. It's the civilian sphere and the civilian route that the European Union has taken to developing quickly technologies used for civil use. But there is a danger in trying to reverse engineer such civil technologies to the military, the military role. Hence, trucks full of computers replacing tanks, which is a much better armed vehicle. We are developing technologies at the moment to fight the Taliban and Al Qaeda, who military ability is in terms of the actual weapons that they're using is very low, but yet it's their methodology, the methodology of corridor of fear tactics, which is threatening people's families until you get to the objective that you want to do. That is why Al Qaeda is such a dangerous foe. But we must develop technologies that are to be used against people who are the most dangerous people and threat to our nation, and that is probably China. China is developing a blue water fleet. That means that China can patrol the sea lanes right into the Atlantic. In 1465, a Chinese fleet entered into the Mediterranean and visited Italy, and is said to have sparked off the Renaissance through exchange of goods. But a China under a communist regime may well spark off wider wars. They've already basically taken over East Africa as far north as Zimbabwe and South Africa and Kenya, where they've been chucked out of southern Sudan. But all these defence cuts by Liam Fox and David Cameron are going to prevent us from helping the European Union and helping the United States if those people need us to carry out operations in support of them. And what about our own self-interest? Are we to not think of our own self-interest because we haven't got the forces, we haven't got the carriers, we haven't got the cyber warfare capability to achieve our aims? All this is very dangerous because as we move from scarcity of fossil fuels to the abundance of clean energy, we will see that the various powers who are rising in the world will lag behind us in technology and will still be trying to obtain resources which we may need to develop a more cleaner postmodern technologies under the auspices of the EU to develop a postmodern hyperpower. But where postmodern powers may rely less and less on the military, that is a given, as the name implies. But military force is still going to be needed. There will be chartered cities in the future, as I discussed in my other videos, which will link up all the different transport links in Africa and into the different unions which will be conjoined to the European Union. And those chartered cities, if they are to develop and transfer the instability of the rural Neolithic economies of Africa, if you've seen the film Blood Diamonds, you'll get what I mean. To which is based on resource exploitation, to a postmodern chartered city situation. Those chartered cities may have to be defended against, say, Somali pirates or Al Qaeda or some other irrational force, and that will require British Army troops, British Army Lions, the thin red line which protects us, the thin veneer of civilization, from the catastrophe of failed states such as Somalia. And the Tory party itself, having been known for being corrupt and having links to organised crime and terrorism in the past, if you've got any sense of history, you will know that the Tory party, the name Tory comes from a group of Irish bandits. So I'm not talking about a crazy idea here. They have been involved with people such as Rhodes and the Milner Group, who developed mercenary troops for use in South Africa to attack the Boers and to try and get hold of resources there under the flag of the British Empire, but for their own organised crime interests. And these are the people in control of our defence policy. You might have an inkling of why they would want to weaken our defence policy given their track record on security. These are people who had links to Margaret Thatcher and her criminal organisation, who tried to take over an African state and then left Tim Spicer in the lurch and other SAS men to die in an African prison. These are the sort of people in control of our defence policy at the present time, and people out there keep voting for them. So we should keep an eye on them and make sure that they do not spell the death throes of the British Army. Thank you for listening.